7:30. We are a string quartet, so we have Eva here on the first violin, second violin, and Felix on viola. And today we're performing Franz Schubert's String Quartet number 14 in D minor. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening. Welcome. It's a beautiful night and a great night for music. First of all, how about another hand for the wonderful quartet, okay, led by Daniel Clark. You guys worked really hard coming out the school, and incoming parents. I'm in the middle of lots of auditions, and they're always asking how much is the time commitment, okay? And I say no rehearsals outside of school unless they want to. And these guys wanted to, and they made time. And how about some love here? Yeah. Very piece of it was the string number 14, am I right, by Franz Schubert? That's what I wrote down. It's not? It is. Oh, okay. The piece we just played was an excerpt from the New World Symphony by Antonin Dvorak, a Czech national composer. And we'd like to do something in this class in particular, we've had we've encouraged it in a lot of our classes. In particular, we've had student conductors in this class. Last year, Casey Dunning-Sori was amazing with the conducting. And this year, Brenton Hong has really shown himself to be very talented. And he's done an arrangement and will conduct the next piece. It's Petite Serenade, and I'm not sure who the composer is, but he'll tell you about it.
To be honest, I'm not exactly sure who the composer is either. But a lot of, to different people, music means different things, right? Mr. Randolph in our pep talk said music is positive vibrations. And so, for me, I think this song sounds pretty good, so we'll play it. The point is that music, a lot of people make music deeper than it needs to be, but music should sound good.
How about it? How about it? Band. So, each year we give an award to a deserving senior, and I think this one's a no-brainer. The orchestra award this year goes to Brenton Hall. We believe music speaks louder than words, so we'll continue. Normally we do 3 tunes in a set, but the guys wanted to do La La Land, music from La La Land, and okay, let's do it. And we did this, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, several years ago. You know, he's a math head, he knows how to do it. time. Okay, a friend of ours who won the award last year showed up today and sat in with us, and he's going to join us. Casey Dunning-Sawyer, where are you, Casey? Is he here? He's here. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. If you've watched United Airlines ads, I don't know how long ago this was, but it was a theme song. It's a great piece. Where's Casey? Ah! Do we have a chair? Let's get a chair. I got it. You got it. And this is one of the great American pieces by one of the great American composers. It's an arrangement of Rhapsody in Blue. I love this arrangement. I think you'll like it too. That rhymes. Thank you so much for the string orchestra. Eva Senecarn again, Duke Drum on some of the solos, Felix on the intro. We call it Felix the Cat. And everyone else, wonderful playing. Thank you, Casey, and sorry for sitting in with us. Symphonic Band, it's your world. We're just in it. Just a note, the test. The unusual setup, the blank space in the front, you'll see why soon. There's a special event coming up. That's a wonderful piece called Fanfare Esprit by Carol Britson Chambers. We'd like to slow things down, and we're going to do something called Blessing Wind by a wonderful Japanese composer, Yukiko Nishimura, and we did some things by her last year in strings. She's quite a writer, as you will hear. told you that was she's a great writer. This is something I did in my first year here, and pulled it out. And I thought, we concert bands. The tradition of concert bands comes really from the Marine Band that was started by a fellow named John Philip Sousa. And I thought, why don't we do a march? We haven't done one of those in many years. So we're going to do something called the Washington Post March by John Philip Sousa. Thank you. Washington Post March. Now we'd like to do something very special. Now, as many of you know, we had a wonderful trip to Disneyland and beyond. We did lots of things down there. And one of the pieces we played combined strings, subtle hint. Strings, hello. Strings, hello. Can somebody tell the strings to please come on stage? Thank you. Anyway, this is a really special arrangement of tunes from the musical Chicago. And we're going to have a very special guest doing some dancing for you as well. But before we do that, I'd like to honor someone very special in Symphonic Band who's been with me for 4 years. And he is really something. He's very quiet. And if you ever, the expression solid would apply to this person who has been in all the bands except strings because he plays winds. He's not a person who draws a lot of attention to himself, but if you're a band director, this is the kind of person you want in your band. And without further ado, I'd like to honor Solomon Park. offense, people don't expect it, but when you think about it, yes, that is the right person to give this award to. Okay, strings, we're ready for you. Come on. Sophie Benazir on piano, dance beautifully. And I want to say, just because of logistics, we couldn't rehearse it with her until today at the sound check, so it's like the second time we've done it with Sophie. That's incredible. How about a hand for her? Obviously, we're going to thank the whole orchestra here. A couple of soloists, Tess Owens early on in the piece, Tess Owens on the trombone, and Kes True on the trumpet, on the plunger trumpet at the beginning. Jude Crum on that beautiful melody there. Thank you for having me. Beautiful. And of course, everyone. All right, we're going to break things down. Short intermission, and it's jazz time. Thank you, everyone. It has its challenges, and we have a very special guest sitting in for us, Seamus Lynch on the tenor sax. Singing in the parts. Thank you, Seamus, for helping us out in a pinch. That featured Will Greenwald, on the trumpet. Silas Carpenter on the alto. All right. Okay. We like to do something with a sort of a Latin beat, sort of a Americanized bossa nova type of beat, and it's called Una Mas. It's by the great trumpeter Kenny Dorham. Did I say it right? I did. Okay, redeemed. Ella on drums, huh? Yeah, that's a tricky little piece there, and she nailed it. Zurion on the trumpet. Will on the trombone, and Silas again on the alto. So, how many people have heard of a group called Sly and the Family Stone? I recently watched a video about Sly's arranging techniques. It was kind of really enlightening. This guy was way ahead of his time. How many Prince fans here? Okay. No Sly Stone, no Prince. Literally. He took, I didn't realize how much respect for Prince, genius, okay? But he took a lot from Sly and took it into his own sphere. But among other people, this guy was a real pioneer on so many levels. I'm going to talk less, but I just want you to go back and listen to him. So we're going to do something called Dance to the Music by Sly and the Sly Road. Caleb on the solo there. And Will Greenwald. Thanks again to Seamus Lynch. How about that? You know, I tell people, be ready, because all of a sudden somebody can't be there, you get the call, they like you, you got the job. Big man. All right, so this one's cooler. We're going to get the jazz combo up. They are going to conduct themselves. This is going to be, we had a nice rehearsal today. This is going to be great. I warn you.
Hello. This is the O'Dowd Jazz Combo. We're a small group of people. We're missing a couple of people on stage right now, but they'll be here in a second. We have 3 songs prepared for you today, and we're excited to play them for you. But first, we have a little bit of a tradition with Jazz Combo to tell a couple of jokes, bad music jokes. So, can anyone tell me, why did the band hire a baseball player? It's because he has a perfect pitch. Why was music coming from the printer? The paper was jamming. Okay. What is Vivaldi doing now? Decomposing. Okay, only one more, and then I'll be done, I promise. What do a trumpet and a lawsuit have in common? Everyone involved is glad when the case is closed. Okay. We have Miles on piano, Hayden on guitar, Jake on bass, Tyler on drums, Gally on the alto, Seamus on tenor, and myself, Tess, on trumpet. Okay. First song is an artist. Solos on this one are going to be myself, Seamus, and Tyler with some traded fours. One, two, three. from myself, Seamus, and Tyler on drums. Next up, we're playing a tune called Dolphin Dance, originally written by Herbie Hancock, and our version is arranged by our very own Mr. Randolph, as was the previous one, Nardis. And it's going to be featuring Miles. One, two, three, four. That was, again, Dolphin Dance, featuring the wonderful Miles Rocha on piano. And we're going to be finishing tonight with Footprint by Wayne Shorter, and this one's going to have a solo from me, Gally, and Miles again. One, two, three, four, five, and... arranged order. That's all we have for you today. Thank you so much.
Kestrel on trumpet. And Master of Ceremonies, great job doing that. Great jokes. That's kind of a tradition. Seamus Lynch on tenor. Golly Silverman on alto sax. Katie Metzler on guitar. Jake Denning-Sori on bass. Tyler Daniels on drums. And Miles Rocha on piano. We'd like to bring on the Honors Jazz Band, and we're going to have some fun with you now, I guarantee.
Program. We really couldn't do any of this without him, and he's been a really big part of my life. And now that I'm a senior, it's been almost 4 years since I first walked on this stage. I'm going to graduate soon, which feels insane, and I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you.
Ollie Silverman. Apollo Machado, Mason Jones. Great bass work there by Finn Dantzler, and drumming by Jonathan Green with some help from AB on the congas there. All right, less talk, more music. Speaking of American geniuses, how many people have heard of Stevie Wonder? Yes, good. Good, you passed. Seamus on the solo. Great drumming there by Tyler. Jake on bass. Yeah. And Sophia on piano, did you note? The talented Sophia Benes. Well, let's see now. Ah, I see. We have a vocal next. The great Amber Carroll is going to charm you with this is, I took jazz guitar lessons, which was quite a concept back in the day, in Honolulu, Hawaii, at a place called Easy Music, with a crazy old guy named Bill Valdez. And he'd always say, "Hey Fred, tell him Valdez sent you." Whatever. And he said, "Yeah, the jazz national anthem is How High the Moon. We'd like to do How High the Moon."
So, all right. So we've had many, many talented people come through here, and this guy has been really, really dedicated. Okay, this is very special, and he's the second one in his family to win this award. So this is, we'd like to honor Miles Rocher.
I was a disc jockey for a while, so I don't really need a mic, but it's fun. Look, this has been an exciting year. In one way especially, you've had more people coming into the practice room, spending hours working on stuff, coming in and ask, that's what I want. I like answering questions. Guys, you want to get a good grade? Ask questions. Good questions. All right, I'll shut up. But how about it for Miles? Obviously well deserved. Okay. Speaking of special things, something I've been wanting to do and I didn't have the right band for it. We have the right band for it now. We're going to actually do a little salsa number for you. This is something by the great Mongo Santa Maria from Cuba. And the first salsa band I ever played in, we played this. I was scared to death. And I've gotten less scared of salsa music. It's wonderful. Again, I'm going to shut up. Let's play. You all know A.D., right? He comes from a family that has a wonderful heritage with African culture and African music, and we've taught him some things about jazz too, and he's quite a guy. How about it for Jonathan Green, who's going to be playing tonight? Oh, by the way, that was Marlo on the drums on the previous number. How about it? Marlo will be playing Friday. All right, let's talk. Lots of great solos there. Cass, Miles, Liam, Raul, A.B. You gonna let him go that fast? Want to hear Cass play a solo? Here we go. Reminder, please. Come see us Sunday. We're going to open up all the stops, and we're going to play at the Sound Room in Oakland. I will send out email to everyone. That's going to be really, really fun. That's what we call the Jazz Band's End of the Year Blowout. We're going to play something by a band you may have heard of called the Beatles. And we're going to feature Cass on trumpet. We're going to play Fool on the Hill.
So, we love you seniors, and we want you to come up. I'm going to call your name. Where's Meredith?
Hi. Everybody give a hand to Meredith. All right. And now, I'd like to honor Cameron Branch. Cameron here? Great. Okay, somebody else? Okay. Harrod, where are you, Harrod? Come on, Howard. Up on for Howard! I call him Howard sometimes. Many names. Xavier, X, Howard. Yeah, maybe. Is Amber still here? Come on. See? Okay, black and gold, beautiful. Jade Miller Flowers up in Piedmont. David Colby. You know, that's reminding me. How many of our chaperones from the Disneyland trip are here? Would you stand up, please? How about a hand for our wonderful chaperone? We had so much fun. And David's dad was part of it. Are you here, Mr. Colby? Yeah. He told us where to go, when to go. It was incredible. Yeah. That was wonderful. Tyler Daniels. Come on, Tyler Daniels. Come on, everybody. And when we did the Chicago man, I was thinking, who did I not mention? I did not mention Tyler because that drum part was really something. We worked hard at it, and he really nailed it. Isaac Garagosian. Isaac Garagosian. Isn't Meredith cool? Matthew, are you still here? Goldweber. Is he still here? You take off? No. Nicholas Gomez. Matt's here. What a talented fellow. Finally got to work with him this year. Nico Gomez here? Yay! Nico Gomez, one time. That's real. We are genuine here. Brenton Hall! Come on down. The door number one. Hey, should have been a TV host. Jeez. Okay. Thank you. You're all taller than me. Wow. Let's see. Neat. Myers. Thank you guys for so many years of wonderfulness. Daniel Park. Park, who led the quartet, was off the chart. Yeah, that's how what we say, right? Z? Off the chart. Hello. Solomon! Solomon here? Yay! Celine! Thank you. Celine's amazing, as is her brother, Aiden. Apollo! We finally took a solo on Cottontail. Liam Rocha. 3 Roaches I've had, all amazing. Miles Rocha. Yeah. Molly. Can't hide, I see you. Yes. Did I leave anybody out?
Mr. Randolph, Cameron's back.
Cameron, come here. Get your load. The reason I say that is once I did leave somebody out, not intentionally, and boy, did I get hell from their parents. So I double and triple checked this time so that wouldn't happen. How about a hand for our seniors? It's been a long night. Thank you for staying. This is so special.
We would like to say something to you, Mr. Randolph.
I would like to say that almost all of the musical ensemble has been here forever. Oh my god, I'm tearing up, sorry. And I just like to say we're so grateful. You can
We're very, oh, is this on?
Yeah.
We're very grateful for the 4 years that Mr. Randolph has given us in band, and it's been very fun, and we've all loved performing with you, so thank you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody needs a little love. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it very much. Really do. It's sometimes a hard, cold world out there. And a little bit of love makes your day. We are officially done. Thank you everyone for staying. Please help out getting everything before you congregate with your parents and friends, and they praise you and